is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hello and welcome once again to the Celebrity Afterlife Report. I am the celebrity medium. We have a lot of gossip about some of your favorite deceased celebrities to tell you about, including a few big names newly arrived in the next world. As you undoubtedly know, legendary comedian Joan Rivers transitioned to the afterlife this past week. A large crowd was there to greet her as she arrived, only to discover that Miss Rivers, like many new arrivals to the next world, was somewhat disoriented. I've mentioned in previous episodes of the Celebrity Afterlife Report that there are volunteers belonging to a greeting committee on hand to help people get their bearings. Keith Moon, former drummer for The Who, of all people, is one of those volunteers. He was present, as he was when actor Meshach Taylor arrived in a similar state, and he immediately introduced himself to Joan, took her arm, and led her off to an orientation center. Now, one of my Next World sources tells me that only a few hours later, he saw Joan in public. The source says that she didn't look 100%, but she obviously felt well enough to be making jokes for the benefit of random passers-by. At one point, she even recycled a gag from one of the last Fashion Police shows she hosted, taking off one of her shoes, revealing a toe tag. I'm told that the joke got what is known as a cringe laugh from her impromptu audience. Joan, I'm told, was smiling from ear to ear at the reaction to her first public joke in her new surroundings. And we haven't heard much from Steve Jobs since he became a resident of the next world. To be more accurate, we haven't heard anything from him. Steve has now broken his silence in a big way. One of my afterlife sources, who happens to be a friend of the former Apple chairman, says Steve opened up recently, and what he had to say isn't going to make him popular with the current management of his old company. According to the source, Jobs went on at length about Tim Cook, who took over the reins of Apple when Steve was too sick to continue in that capacity. According to Jobs, Cook, quote, has been much too timid with the company. He continued, quote, Apple got to the position it's in because I wasn't afraid to take chances and innovate. Just about every product we introduced was criticized before it became popular with the public. Tim's listening to too many people. He should only be listening to his inner voice. Jobs continued. All the products Apple's produced since I've been gone are just incremental improvements on things that I oversaw. Apple needs to get back to the business of being insanely great and innovative. Asked by my source if he wished he was still on the earthly plane running Apple, Jobs said, not really. What I wish is that Tim Cook would grow a pair and bring the company back to greatness. My source asked Steve if the iWatch that Apple is expected to be introducing this week is going to be the product that puts the company back on the path to greatness. He answered, we'll see. I have my doubts. Well, Steve Jobs was never shy about expressing his opinion, and it seems that transitioning to the next world hasn't changed that one bit. I, for one, would love to know what Mr. Cook and the rest of Apple's management team thinks about their deceased chairman's thoughts on their current direction. Now, several weeks ago, I reported that former Saturday Night Live cast member John Belushi was dating Nicole Brown Simpson, OJ Simpson's former wife, and you know what happened there. At the time, I told you that the two met at a comedy club owned by Belushi's friend, actor John Candy, when Belushi showed up unannounced to perform in some sketches. After the show, Nicole asked Belushi for an autograph, and the two hit it off and began dating. At the time, I quoted her as saying, "We're taking it day by day. Right now we're having a lot of fun together, and John has been a complete gentleman to me," unquote. Well, it seems that things have gone very, very well since that time. According to a source, the two are planning on getting married in a few months. The wedding was apparently supposed to be a secret, but as on the earthly plane, some people in the afterlife just can't keep their mouths shut. In case you're wondering, I am informed that John has lost a lot of weight and looks great. Also, since there are no narcotics in the next world, his addiction problem is no longer an issue. This is a story we will definitely be following as it develops. Now, before we wrap up this edition of the report, I have an update to a story for you. Now, just a few moments ago, I told you about Joan Rivers being led to an afterlife orientation center by drummer Keith Moon. But just before recording this report, I was informed that when Joan arrived at the center, she was shocked to be greeted by Edgar Rosenberg, her husband of 22 years before his suicide in 1987. I'm told that the two hugged and kissed warmly, and Edgar was overheard to be apologizing for taking his own life and leaving Joan bankrupt. Joan was in tears of happiness at seeing her husband again, and the two left the orientation center hand in hand, which I guess accounts for how happy she was when she was seen in public just a few hours later. And on that happy note, we wrap up this edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report. Please come back next week for more up-to-the-moment gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.